Welcome, everyone, to the meeting of the Housing and Community Development Committee, Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. Glad to see all of you here tonight. First order of business is a roll call to see if we have a quorum.
Chair Ravel,
Aye, here.
Councilmember Burns,
Here.
Councilmember Heracaris,
Here.
Hugo Rodriguez,
Here.
Joanne Salome,
Here.
Kathy Feingold,
Here.
Lauren Berlin, Chloe Thurston, and we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. So I see that we have quite a few people signed up for public comment, and I believe I understand what a number of you are here to talk about and hear about. And so I'm going to ask Councilmember Burns to kick it off, though, with some information about the situation that I think you're here to hear about. So Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, so I've talked to a few people in anticipation for the meeting. I just thought it was important for everybody on the committee, but also those in the audience who weren't at the last tenant meeting that we had at Fleetwood, that they all get the same information that was presented at that meeting. There should have been a 2-page document that was hand-delivered to the units following the meeting by HODC, who is currently managing the properties in lieu of the organization that still owns the property. But just to give a little bit of background, and Sarah, you can help me out with the name real quick. George Gauthier, the name of his non-for-profit,
Evanston Housing Coalition.
Evanston Housing Coalition, owns 3 properties, also other properties in the area, but 3 properties on the turnaround end of Wesley. The style of properties, I'm told, are California walk-ups, which has presented some challenges, especially in the Chicago area, because the stairs are exposed all year round, and so they've deteriorated quite a bit, obviously, over the years. The nonprofit that currently owns the building, just as a matter of fact, has clearly not maintained the building. If they did, we wouldn't be in this condition. That being said, I have not found a tenant yet that has said anything negative about George. So it sounds like, you know, he was a stand-up person, did the best that he could, but the reality is that that organization, I'll say, did not maintain the properties over the last several years, not months since HODC has been involved, but for years. That's how you get to that level of deferred maintenance and deterioration of a building. And so for the last several months now, I'll say, Sarah, the city has been, that we've been meeting on a weekly basis to assess the situation and make sure we understand the current condition, but also working on a plan. Sarah can speak to this, brought HODC in, I believe, at one point to come in and manage the properties while a final determination was made from the current nonprofit that owns the buildings as to what to do with it. Would they contribute it to another nonprofit, affordable housing manager? Would they continue to own it, et cetera? During that time, we also looked at different funding opportunities. And during that time, it was, you know, we finally determined after engineers went out and there's been some shoring and some scaffolding to try to maintain the structural integrity of the building. But it's been determined that the properties are not fit to be occupied. And so what the city has done is said, because the properties haven't been maintained, because they're unsafe to occupy, we're going to provide as much funding as we need to help people transition as smoothly as possible. So for those who were in the meeting, they're aware that we've offered extended stays. And again, and somebody mentioned 7 days. I reiterated this several times during the meeting that we say 7 days to try to keep the urgency on both sides, both the city and the tenant, to find permanent accommodations, and that's really on the city's end too, to really help the tenants. But it will be extended. It's 7 days with extensions. So for example, I think our health director explained to me that over the last several years, we've had 13 other people in the community go through similar circumstances when properties have been condemned or needed to be vacated. And we've provided as much as 2 months of hotel stays. The bottom line is you will have whatever you need to get through this situation. We say 7 days to keep the urgency on both parties. The extended stays, my understanding is that you have up to 30 days to stay in them, but we have a good enough relationship where our health director is confident that that will also be extended. And but we've provided extended. We'll pay for extended stays. We'll pay for storage. We understand people have a lot of precious items and just belongings that they're gonna need to store. So we'll pay for storage. We'll pay for rental subsidies. We understand that these units are subsidized, so people are not only lower income but pay. There are low rents. They're experiencing low rents at this point. So what we've said is if we can't find another place that's of a similar rent for you, that we will subsidize the rent up until a year at least. So it will fulfill that first lease that you sign in the new unit. And then on a case-by-case basis, we'll take it from there. We also expressed during the meeting for those who were there that if we've missed anything off of our list, storage, rental subsidy, rental assistance, extended stay, storage, moving assistance, boxes, whatever you need will be paid for and provided by the city. But if we've missed anything on our list, to let us know, and we will certainly add to it. There's other details, but when we met with the tenants, the last thing I'll say is everybody was there. I was there, our city manager, our health director, our community development director. There's school-aged children in the building, so District 65 staff was there, social workers, and they're helping the families connect with McKinney-Vento, both at District 65 and 202. HODC was there with their staff. Youth and Family Services was there, and so the point outreach workers or case workers in this situation are Jeremy McCray, who's a part of our Family and Youth Services team, Maurice Wilkerson, who's part of our health department, and then our 2 victim advocates. And so they are working one-on-one with the tenants to make sure that all of their needs are met. And so I just wanted to provide that update. Obviously, this is a incredibly difficult situation. The city does not own these properties. It's been said that there's been several attempts by tenants over the years to notify the city about the building. And, obviously we can go back in the records to see, what the different resolutions were. But I know since my time in office, since I've been alerted to it, we've been meeting on a regular basis every single Friday morning just to talk about these 3 properties and to make sure that the tenants are safe and have all the support that they need. So sorry to take that much time up. I just wanted to make sure y'all have all the information, and happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. And
Lauren, go ahead.
On. Hello. Just to get us oriented, when you say the turnaround at Wesley, I'm looking at Wesley now. Are you talking about where it hits Green Bay? Where are you talking?
So off of Green Bay, if you were to make a right on Foster going west, you will make a right turn on Wesley. And at the cul-de-sac or turnaround end of Wesley on the west side of the street, there's 3 properties there that all look the same.
Yep.
California walk-up
Yeah,
style
okay.
buildings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wonder how many families are involved?
Many more to start. I don't know if HODC or anybody from the owners are here, but there's 27, I think, units.
Wow.
And they can correct me if I'm wrong when they speak during public comment.
24 total
24, okay.
units,
Because I thought it was 3 in each building, 3 buildings, but yeah.
but only one of the buildings is fully occupied. 2 of them have, I believe, 6 or 7 tenants in one, and a similar number in the other.
But
I don't have those
HODC
numbers with
and
me.
again, can't remember the organization that owns it, but they provided all that information to us.
Yes.
Some people have left in an effort to try to get funding for the building. They needed to re-sign leases. They need to recertify the tenants. This is subsidized housing, so they need to income qualify in order to benefit from the reduced rents. And so that's what HODC came in to do initially. And that was even had some challenges. Obviously, new owner. It's been stated that the professionalism and customer service potentially hasn't been the best by some of the staff. HODC can speak for themselves. What I've said very plainly is I'm an adult. I can't vouch for any other adult, and I won't. I won't question what you experienced. All I can say is what I've experienced, what the city has done since we were notified about the condition of the building, and what the city is committed to doing to make sure that this transition is as easy as possible. But I don't question what anybody has experienced, but that has been people have expressed some concerns with dealing with different staff at HODC. But what I can say is that HODC was the reason why they were trying to re-sign leases is because on subsidized buildings, in order to continue to get funding, people need to be income certified on an annual basis. My understanding is Georgia, the not-for-profit, we're not necessarily doing that. And so it was, maybe not doing it for everybody, but, and he had fallen ill, and so HODC came in to try to manage the property, to try to get new leases, to try to get people recertified, try to find funding. During all that, engineers inspected the property, determined that it was unsafe, and so here we are.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, Councilmember Burns. This is obviously a very difficult situation for a lot of people, and appreciate your giving us some information before we launch into the public comment. We have quite a few people signed up for public comment. I have a little timer here that's going to make little noises after about 2 minutes. So Tina knows she's first.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tina Payton. We need to put a pause on just cause, and the revisions of the RTLO has got to go. The city of Evanston should be ashamed of themselves. You have spent the last year trying to tell housing providers about proper notification or eviction and paying tenants for non-renewal when city officials and HODC are sneaking around illegally evicting the tenants of 2014, 2018, and 2024 Wesley. You just gave them a notice 1 week ago to immediately evacuate their units. And you sitting here telling us that we need to give 90 days and 100 days, 120 days to our tenants, and the city of Evanston is giving them no notice. Is this what Black seniors and residents deserve for Black History Month? What is reparations all about? This kind of behavior is what we're supposed to get reparations for, and you're continuing to demonize Black residents. I believe that all the residents deserve their rent paid for 1 year, and then you need to give them subsidized rent after that. General assistance or a flow voucher, Section 8, so they can continue to live on their pennies for the rest of their lives. These people have been in the units for decades. And you sit up here and tell us what we need to do as landlords, and you doing the opposite. So you can beat me all you want to, but I will say this. 1900 Sherman, when they were asked to remodel the building, they were given an option to stay in the building while it was remodeled, or they could get a housing voucher. You are not doing enough for these people, and this is a disgrace.
Thank you. How do I stop this?
Just wanted to say that I do have available units. I have already talked to the city about it. so they can stay in Evanston. And I have 6 units available now. I have 6 coming up with hopefully the help of One Stop Shop back here. These are the things that they need to be doing, is helping landlords like me to provide housing for those people.
Okay, Councilmember Burns?
I just want to correct the record. Nobody is being evicted, which is why the notice was not a notice eviction. And we were very clear at the meeting that we're not evicting. We're working with an outside attorney that at some point we're going to have to post a notice of, it's either called notice to vacate, notice of condemnation. I don't know exactly what the term is, but we have not posted a notice yet. We have not evicted anybody, and we said that. Well, what I said in the meeting, and everybody who's there knows this, is that we are trying to be as flexible as we can, knowing that people need time to work with our victim advocates and our staff to find another place to stay. And the subsidies that Ms. Payton just talked about, we're providing. So as I said before, if we can't find you another unit that is similar in rent or the same in rent of what you're paying now, that the city is going to make up the difference. Okay, and we're not evicting anybody right now. It was a notice to say the city is advising you because of safety. Your safety is what we're concerned about. We're advising you to vacate the building. We're not evicting anyone right now. We are trying to provide as much support as we can to help you transition, but we are not evicting anyone. So that's not true.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Next is William Carter.
Good evening. My name is William Carter. I lived there for about 3 years. It's not just my home. That's my community. You people have destroyed a community. I did some research. When HODC took over, they made promises to us. They said that they were going to fix the issues in our building. They're going to make it safe for us. They did nothing but collect rent. When we contacted HODC, they were dismissive, rude. Everything we have tried to do to work with HODC has been met with disdain. They came in bullying us, telling us what we were going to do or we were going to leave. At our first meeting, they told us their plans was to purchase that building through government funds. So they weren't there for us. They lied and said they were. There's 2 phrases I want to leave you with because I'm going to keep this short so I can not lose it. There's something called negligent misrepresentation. Basically what that means is when you tell us you're going to do something for us, we have a verbal contract. When you go against that verbal contract, working with other people to go against that contract, that is negligent misrepresentation. Instead of working for our properties, we see the management of HODC walking around the adjacent properties with land developments and property developers. He's not working for us, he's working for himself, and he's screwing us working for himself. Secondly, there's another phrase I want to throw out, fiduciary duty. When you make a promise to us, we expect you to hold up to that promise. Now, because you have broken, I could give a damn about that right now. If you break that promise, as a group, should we decide to get together and we decide to have a class action lawsuit against the city of Evanston and HODC, would we be wrong? Because we are tired. We're too damn old and too damn tired to be putting up with this kind of crap. Am I understood? Have a great evening.
Thank you. Next is Lee Bailey. Lee Bailey? Sorry.
I ain't got much to say. He's already said it all. But when they came up in there, HODC came up in there, they said, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. They came in my apartment and said, with a camera, taking pictures of my furniture, talking about fixing my apartment. What that got to do with it? All right? They said, that, oh, we gonna help you. We gonna help you. You ain't gotta go nowhere. We gonna help you. That was a bunch of lies. That's all it was a bunch of lies. I don't like to be lied to. I don't lie to you. You don't lie to me. I don't have time for all this. I'm 77 years old. I ain't got time for this. If I was younger, I'd be in jail. Right now, I'd be sitting in jail, Everson Police Department right now. This ain't right. There's people in the building right here that got kids. You don't put them somewhere. Put them where? Put them where? Quiet. He said everything I had to say.
Thank you. LaTanya, whoops. No, oh, okay, thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is LaTanya Noble. I've been on Wesley for 7 years, pretty much like my neighbors and them said, but I've been coming around that community since I was 15, 16 years old. I have family that stayed at Heifer. The seniors that's here been knowing me since I was a kid. At the end of the day, you all not fair. You're not fair to none of us. You know, when HODC came, like they said, they did promise us to get funding from you all to fix up things. And they did say no one had to move, that they was going to move us. If we did move, they was going to move us out to get our apartments fixed and move us back in. You all say that this building been like this for years, so why wait now to do anything? So that means it's not just on George, because we're not going to sit here and let you all say, oh, George had this bill. That man did everything he could do. But you all, as whatever you all want to be, supposed to make sure that that was taken care of. You all send people out without our knowledge. HODC came. We didn't even know who they was. They didn't introduce themselves until a meeting. It's not fair to none of us. Put yourself in our shoes. Oh, I forgot you came. And then you all talk about hotel. People have family. So we're going to be in a hotel room like a pack rat? So think of us for a chance, please. For once in your life. Thank you.
Thank you.
No justice? No peace. No justice? No peace.
Edwina Wesson. Sure.
Okay, now you know who I am. Yes. We went through this stuff once before, okay? Yeah, I was talking about something about Northwestern, and I just told one of you that was on this panel, I said, well, since y'all gonna tear the buildings down, move over, because I have to come over there and sleep with you and your wife, and you can claim me on your income tax, okay? I'm a senior. Where the hell am I going to go? And you know something? These senior homes, I worked 37 years for one company. And I went up here to, what's that, on Emerson and Prim Towers. Young man come telling me, your income is too great. Then I went down here across the Jacob Manor or whatever that is, and the young lady wouldn't even give me a application. And so where are we supposed to go? I'm not going to relocate up north. My kids are up north, grandkids and one daughter. The other daughter's in Texas. The bottom line is we work all our lives, and we was doing fine as long as George handled those buildings were being handled real nice. Because George said the city was coming. Every time we turned around, the city was coming to those 3 buildings, okay? Anything that was broke down or something, he had it fixed. He had it fixed. Now, I don't know what the problem is. Y'all want to sit us out or put us out of Evanston or something. I've been in Evanston all my life. Amen. And I got people that pay taxes. And you know, my dad is dead and gone. My aunts and uncles are gone. But they paid taxes when they was alive. You know? So all I got to say is, y'all need to do your homework and find out what's really going on. Because I don't think you know. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Roberta Hudson?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Roberta Hudson. I've been a advocate for the community for many, many years. And I can remember back several years ago when the city had a plan that they wanted to take all the property from Green Bay where the plants and Buffalo Joe and go all the way around and take that property off. And we were against it then, and we're against what's happening right now. It appears that these city Evanston residents who have lived here, they've had their children, they've raised their children, their grandchildren, they've paid their bills, they've paid their taxes here for all these decades, and for them to suddenly be asked to leave their area, it's a shame. They deserve better than this. They need better care than this. We have the resources for anything we want to do in this city. And we need to apply by the golden rule and do the right thing and give these Evanston citizens what they need, the resources they need to have a viable life and a better quality of life. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
No peace. No justice.
Betty Esther?
No peace.
Betty Esther, are you here? There she is.
Good evening. This is now they changed the name from the Community Development Block Grant Committee to the Housing and Community Development Committee.
Right.
I sat on this same committee when it was considered the community block grant and stuff. What you are charged with is for the overseeing of the funds, the community block grant that the city give, which is roughly almost $1 million. You get so much from the block grant, and you decide how much is allocated to 15 nonprofit, then you have a section that you give to the city on their projects, mostly have to do with infrastructure and stuff. Another, in the home funds, you oversee the home funds. Then what they have did with the home funds that came in from the federal government was to merge it with the city tax money, which they call affordable housing. And they do not and will not admit this. But the government says, you put your money in my pocket, then your money have to follow my rules. We don't do that. You have not followed the procedures for the HODCs, which is a Community Housing Development Organization, which HODC is one of them. The Evanston Housing Coalition was another. You have Riva Place, which is currently operating, and you had the Evanston Association, and then you had the Citizens Lighthouse Community Land Trust. There is a process that when a CHODO folds, any property that that CHODO has move into another CHODO, either the board decide where it should go or not. The city should decide, or the community as a whole decide which CHODO it should go into. Did you know when that property was going to be put into the hands of HODC? If you did not know that, then you're wrong. You need to stop back, go to the beginning, and give these people the due process that the law allows for them. You cannot have a meeting without a community meeting on this. Give them the due process they deserve. Thank you.
I think Kathy Jefferson, am I reading this right? Yeah. Oh, good, okay.
Hi, my name is Kathy Jefferson. I've been living at 2024 for 18 years. I'm solely disappointed that we're being kicked out as far as I look at it. I feel like we're homeless now. I work hard for my money. Ever since HODs took over, they haven't done anything. Made promises they didn't keep. Now I want to know where my money is. Where's everybody's money at? Where's it at? Are we going to get it all back? For the 2 or 3 years we've been there? Well, longer than that. For them taking over. Where's the money? Are we going to get it all back? Because I work hard for my money, and I want it all back, including the deposit. I see nobody ain't saying nothing. Can anybody answer? Okay, well, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Patricia Aikens?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. I've lived at 2024 for 33 years. I raised my kids there, my grandkids, and working on my great-grands. I came into this apartment in the 90s when the dead end, we called the dead end of Wesley, was with Mr. Gauthier. I was brought in by the Ministers Alliance. I was looking for an apartment, and they told me that they wanted single parents that had a job that was reputable. So they wanted me to go, they offered me an apartment there, 2 bedrooms. So when I went there, I was in total shock because it was really bad. And Mr. Gauthier asked me if I would just give it a chance, and if I would work with them, we could make the apartment and the dead end better. And that's what we did. We made it better. We became a community. We had a community, we had a tenants organization. We had it where we would know the tenants that was coming in. And now, here we are. Here I am 33 years later, when they brought in HODC, whatever it was. They was really very nasty. I mean, I had to stand and tell Rose that I'm a woman just like you. I paid my rent on time. You treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect. But we've been disrespected ever since the HODC came in. George took care of us, and he made it better for us over there. But now I'm homeless, and we don't know where we're going. You say you're going to help us, but is it in writing anywhere that you're going to help us? Have you put anything down for us? You've treated us very badly, and I wouldn't want you to be in my situation. I have high blood pressure. I mean, I have a heart disease condition, so I've been stressed out the last couple of days, since Tuesday, since they brought us this paper telling us that we got to get out. This is not a position that nobody should be in, that I didn't ask for. I paid my way. You know, I worked on my job 42 years. I draw my Social Security, you know, so I don't feel like I should. I mean, this is not something that we should be doing right now, you know, and in the cold weather. I don't care enough about that thing.
Thank you. Mary Dodson? Okay. Okay.
Hi, my name is Kelly Nelson, since you don't have my name on the list. And listening to what Councilman Burns said, as well as listening to these tenants, the thing that comes most up to my mind is somewhere the people on Wesley were left unprotected. I don't know where the cycle of blame starts, and at this point in time, it doesn't really matter. I have a 73-year-old father that lives on Wesley. I've read the documentation. I've started making phone calls. I've got a 71-year-old aunt that lives on Wesley. And I hear you. I hear you say, we're going to help these people. But some of these people have been left so unprotected that where do they even start to find a place to live? Help looks like when you show up at someone's door and tell them they have to vacate it, you have a plan for them. You have another door for them to walk into. And these people don't have a door. Some of these people have lived in Evanston their entire lives. They have never lived within 3 miles, square miles of where they live. And now they're being told, we'll find you someplace to go. But the part of the sentence that's missing isn't that place to go. It's going to be in the neighborhood that you have always lived your life in. That now that you are in your golden years, your senior years, You have lived in the 5th Ward. You were born in the black hospital. You went to the black Y. You lived in this black neighborhood that was neglected for a long time until it became profitable again. And now you say, we'll find you somewhere, but where is that somewhere? I understand the building's in bad shape, and maybe that's on George, and I'm sorry for those of you that love George, I'm sorry. But maybe he left you unprotected too. However, where were the inspections? Where was the due diligence on the part of the city to say, you know what's the name of his business or whatever it is? This is not okay. And then when it passed to HDOC and these people came in and they shook these people down. They shook them down for documentation, telling them they had to prove themselves and prove their income levels because they were going to fix it. And the only way they could fix it was to shake them down. And then they left them unprotected. And I'm sorry, I don't know where the blame lies, but I know that now it's in your lap. And these people need help. And watching this parade of elderly people walk up here and talk about where they've lived for 30 years and offering them an extended stay, offering them a phone number to call, offering them something else, that's not good enough for them. They're old, they're low income, retired. They've been so far, some of them probably don't even know how to use the computer to find any apartment. Evanston does better by their people than this. I am born and raised in Evanston. We can do better. Help these people. They need it. And if we need to call HDOC on the carpet, then it's time to call them on the carpets. If we can't go back and get it from George, then we can't go get back and get it from George, but don't pass this off on somebody else. This is an injustice. And these people should be able to stay in Evanston. They should be able to stay in their community, and they should be able to afford it. Thank you.
Thank you. William Bailey? William Bailey? No? Whoops, somebody took this. Carla Sutton?
Good evening. I am very concerned and upset about this alliance between developers and the city and this committee. Their total disregard of rules, regulations, and legal procedures to victimize vulnerable and marginalized citizens that's sitting right here of my ward and the black community. The unscrupulous strong-arm tactics and lies is disgusting. No one in this community is against progress. No one in this community is against affordable housing. But why is that at our expense and our detriment? Why do we have to sacrifice for that? How dare you evict and determine a building is unfit for human occupation? Where is the city's documentation of these violations? How can citizens be displaced in the middle of winter without ample provisions? Where was their court date? Where was the delivery by the county sheriff saying that they were to be evicted? You may not remember the same process was utilized in Chicago in the demolition of Robert Taylor and Cabrini Green, and you were promised that you could return first people to come. Where are those residents who were promised first to come back and returning? These buildings are subsidized by HUD. Stop this procedure now, tonight, and follow the law and rules and regulations afforded to these residents by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Thank you.
And we have somebody online?
We have one person who would like to make public comment who signed up online. His name's Baxter Swilly.
Oh, okay, great, thanks.
Hello, I'm here, actually. Hey, how are you? I came here because I wanted to talk about a coordinated funding strategy for the Community Development Block Grant and to think about how we can buttress the reparations movement by having a more strategic approach to how we fund challenges in the black community. But I'm completely overwhelmed by what I've heard tonight. And I feel like the conversation should shift to thinking about not just about the economics behind housing and economic development, but also the fairness behind what is necessary to support a community that is indigenous. I'm from Maywood, right? When I first came here in 2001 to work for Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, the first thing I learned was Evanston has an indigenous African-American population. That's not true in other communities around the country, particularly for one that's so prestigious and important. If I had to think critically about what we do next, particularly concerning the challenges that our elderly, our ancestors are experiencing right now, I would say that we need emergency policy analysis and assessment. We need to stop the harm. There is no point in reparations if the harm continues. I wanted to talk about ESG funds. I wanted to talk about home investment. I cannot talk about those things tonight. I had no idea that this conversation was happening. I came here to talk about something completely different. But it's clear to me that a strategic, coordinated effort to ensure that we are putting our money in the right place, but we are also taking up the mantle of fairness.
Thank you.
Tricia Conley said she was online and had a comment, and Councilmember Kelly as well.
Okay.
There's two people that signed up for written comment that provided written comment that will be shared. They submitted after the deadline and they will be shared after.
Right, but do we have, Trish, do we have people online?
We have Claire Kelly and Darlene Cannon. I will call on Darlene Cannon just alphabetically.
Okay.
You may speak now, Ms. Cannon.
Okay, thank you. Darlene Cannon, Second Ward. I agree with everything that all of the speakers are saying. This is an embarrassment to a city who is constantly toting about how we're the first city who does reparations, but simultaneously we are putting people out on the street, and you don't even have consider that they have enough dignity to at least give them the path to someplace else. But I'm concerned, like everyone else, this committee, we gave George or HODC, they got $2 million of our tax dollars. What did they do with that? Why is it now at this point that the building has to be condemned? Or is there another hidden agenda of simply pushing Black people, low-income, marginalized people out of this community? This is a disgrace. And, while we're simultaneously moving City Hall downtown, which is going to make it inaccessible for these same people, the same people that we are constantly professing that we care about, the same people who afford this city to be able to get the type of funds that we do. And what do? We continuously slap them in their face. Do better.
Okay, thank you. And then Councilmember Kelly?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, so obviously this is deeply concerning and upsetting. I've been contacted by a lot of people in the Fifth Ward and all over the city about this, so I'm concerned and upset about the situation. So I guess, as a council member, I feel I need to just ask a few questions for clarification. I'll ask all the questions. I have a couple of questions, and then if you can answer them, please. I've read the letter that the residents, I'm reading the letter here, that they all did not even by name. They were all just given this letter, just Dear Wesley Avenue tenant, that says that the city is requiring all tenants to vacate the building. So they have been essentially, as far as they're concerned, forced to leave the building. So I'd like to know if there was this is in essence a city order to vacate the building. Did this go through the court system? Was there an order to vacate that went through the court system? That's my first question. And my second question, I think a couple of the residents have asked this also. I'm a little confused how maybe city staff, Sarah Flax, you can answer this. How could staff allow this to get to this point, to allow it to deteriorate to such a point where these buildings are being condemned and then folks are being forced out on a dime? How many inspections happened? And I think we need some answers around that, because it doesn't seem this should ever get to this point where suddenly folks are asked to vacate so quickly. And finally, is there a plan to return these residents to their homes? We've heard now that these are the homes, many of these residents have lived here for many, many years, and this is their community, their home, their neighborhood. So I'd like to hear about plans to return the residents to their homes. So those three questions, again, if this has gone through the court system as an order to vacate, I see the letter says that they're required to vacate by the city. I want to know what those steps were. And again, how this happened, how this could get to this point. And finally, the plan to return the residents to their home. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So, shall I let Sarah answer those first?
Yeah, I think Director Flax can certainly speak to the history.
Right, well, let's go ahead and
You want
let's
to
hear
finish
the
the
answer.
public comments?
Sure, so
Okay.
who else is there? Is that Tricia Conley?
Tricia,
Okay.
you may speak now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, great. This is a little different than what I'm normally used to. I echo everything that people have said tonight. And, the thing I'm really constantly going back to with some of the ways we as a city, work and interact with our residents is that we seem to, not put residents at the center. And this is clearly a case where residents should have been put at the center. What do I mean by that? I mean, you go in, you call a meeting with residents, and you say, listen, here's the situation. What do you see as being the potential that we can work together so that your lives don't get turned upside down because we have whatever it is, an agenda or the easiest way to go about this? It's just so disheartening, to make claims Black Lives Matter and we care about seniors, and then the most, basic work of showing who we are, it gets dismissed. And it's really unacceptable. And I would just second that, HODC, we got to put an end to this because we've had other problems with HODC. And they took over this building, and as far as I can tell from Cook County, in 2022. So yet again, as people have said, I'll echo it, where the hell were the inspections and how did this got through the... Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, Director Flax, would you answer some of those questions, please? Excuse me.
I don't have absolute inspection history. Various of the properties, individual units and properties have been inspected over the years. The issue that is causing the need to get the building vacated is not something that a property maintenance person is necessarily going to be analyzing. But they have noted it, that there have been, it has been obvious that there has been a decaying of the metal stairways and balconies, and that is the key problem that we're dealing with right now. The access and egress to the buildings are really not safe. We have shored them up, which is making them safer, but it is not making them permanently safe.
Excuse me.
No, it doesn't damage the building. They are already there. The court system and the process that the city will go through to ultimately get the building officially vacated is Section 11-31-1A of the Illinois Municipal Code, and it is specifically gives municipalities the authority to relocate people when you have a building that has been declared dangerous from a structural standpoint, and that is the situation of this building. It is not something that we can keep people in and rehab safely around them, even if we could get the money right now to do that rehab. It will be substantial. So the key thing is to get people out of the building and into safe housing. And our staff and some outside organizations as well have been working with some of the tenants. I don't know who is working exactly with whom, but Maurice Wilkerson and Jeremy McRae are heading this up along with Kelly, and so Ike Agbo is involved. This is not something the city is taking lightly, and we are working to identify what tenants' choices are and to be able to support them and find appropriate housing for them. The absolute goal is to keep people in Evanston, is not to move anyone out. We haven't determined the ultimate what's going to happen with the buildings. There's additional work being done to see if we can get money to rehab them. It would be substantial, probably in the neighborhood of $8 to $10 million to be able to rehab those properties.
And I just
Okay.
wanted to add one last point.
And Councilmember Burns, yeah.
And I want to be
Go ahead.
respectful of the meeting too, so I'll be brief. So I just wanted to answer a few questions that I heard. So just to reiterate that at the last meeting we had with the tenants, I was there, the city manager was there, our victim advocates, Jeremy from Youth and Family Services, and Maurice Wilkerson from the Health Department. So to your point, earlier point, help should absolutely not look like, hey, you're on your own, figure it out. That's why they were there. And during the meeting, everyone was provided a brief intake form to fill out, and also a document that allows different agencies to communicate with one another so that we can provide wraparound support, which is why I said not only was the city there, but also District 65 was also there. And so right in that meeting, we were able to take people who thought that was the appropriate time through an intake process so we can start that. So everybody here, if they have not been assigned essentially, or if they have not been reached out to by Maurice, by Jeremy, then please let me know and we will get them connected. But they were literally at the meeting working with people, getting them through the intake process. So everybody here should be assigned a person to work with directly. So again, it should not look like you're on your own, figure it out. We were very clear in the meeting who was assigned to this project. We were very clear that we're going to look, first and foremost, look for units in the 5th Ward. If that doesn't work, look for units in Evanston. We absolutely want to keep people here in the 5th Ward if we can. We've also talked about how there's a unit shortage. Somebody mentioned $2 million that this committee provided to HODC. That was for a new affordable housing development on Church and Darrow, which is currently being sued by one of the neighbors. And so hopefully we can win so that we can provide more affordable units in the community. So there's a shortage of units, which is why this committee supported expanding affordable units in Evanston so that we could have somewhere to place people in situations like this. I wish we had available units. The last thing I'll say is, there's always some turnover. Ms. Payton, who's a landlord, said that she had units, and so what you'll see in the next few days is we're sending out a notice to all the landlords asking them to help in this situation. So we want to place people permanently in affordable living who live in these properties. In the meantime, I didn't want people to literally be in the streets, and I know it may feel that way, and I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not telling you how to feel. What I'm saying is we wanted to prevent people from literally only having an option to being on the street, which is why we thought the best accommodations that we could fund was an extended stay. Again, we picked extended stay for 2 reasons. It's an extended stay, so we can keep you on there longer, so you don't have to bounce back and forth between 2 hotels, and 2, because you can prepare meals right in the unit, and we're also providing food, gift cards, etc., so that people can purchase meals and prepare it in their home. So, and the last question I'll say is, somebody said, is it written down? We provided 2 documents at the meeting. One document was, again, not an official notice because we're trying to remain flexible. We know people need time to work with our outreach team and our advocates to find a suitable next step. So it's not an official notice, but it was just saying, giving people all the details they needed about how we feel in terms of the safety of the structural integrity of the building and how safe it is for residents. And then the other document was a list of benefits and supports that the city will provide. Everybody who was in attendance that day, they were supposed to get both of those same documents on their door so that they could also understand exactly how the city plans to support tenants during this difficult time. So it has been provided in writing. And again, my email, just because this is recorded so you can go back to it, bburns@cityofevanston.org. My phone number, again, because this is recorded, 847-766-5871. That's my direct line. If you're having any issues working with our staff on this, let me know, because you should have all the support you need to get through this situation. And if you don't feel you have that support from the city, reach out to me, and I will reach out to staff directly and make sure that everything is coordinated in the way it needs to be. This is the last thing that we wanted. I am not an engineer. I've been advised by city staff that in order to keep the residents safe in this unit, that they should leave because the structural integrity is not where they want it to be. I'm being advised by engineers to communicate that to the residents. And so in order to keep people safe, we provided as many accommodations as we possibly could think of. And as I said in the meeting, if we forgot anything, let us know and we'll add to it.
Okay, thank you. So
Latanya,
I have a light. Is that Lauren? Is that your light? No. Oh, Councilmember Harakaris.
I'll just say one thing. Thank you for sharing your stories. I would like, in a follow-up meeting, to hear, I don't think there's anyone from HODC here, but I would like to get a report about how we got to this place, just because the institutions we choose to do business with have to do right by the residents, and so I want to find out more information. And the other thing, the only people I can vouch for are Maurice and Jeremy, and I know that they will do right by you. They're great, and so I think we are committed to helping you guys bridge the gap here in your housing and helping you out.
And I'm sorry, I did hear one question. They talked about the food stipends. That's all through the health department. But again, y'all should not have to go from tit to tat to. I want to make sure that everybody has a direct connection to either Jeremy or Maurice, because they should provide you with all that information. It's through our health department, but I don't want y'all to have to think you got to call department to department. No, because it's owned by a non-for-profit. The development you're talking about is a gentleman by the name of John Cleary, who owns some land back behind the public stores. That's separate from these properties. And then the city also owns some land back there as well, but those are separate lots.
Right, okay. So, Ugo, you had a light on? I can't.
Are we in the part of discussion for this committee, or are we
we're
still in
just-
the public?
Well, we're trying to wrap up this, yeah, so if you had, did you have a comment or a question about this particular issue?
I would like to discuss within the committee what's going on here. Is this the time, or are we finished with public comment?
Yes, we're finished with public comment.
Okay, so if I could start with it.
The committee really needs to figure out how we're going to proceed, so Ugo, go ahead.
So I have several questions at this time, and my first question is, have we heard of this on this committee before?
No.
Is it the first time? So what is the intention of the city to bring it onto our committee when it's already a boiling pot? We don't have any information about how to make any sense of what's going on unless we have inspection reports, when they were made, how is it that the city got to this point with these fellows. And I totally hear what you're saying. If I were in your shoes, I'll be probably in jail, like someone of you said. Absolutely. And it is irresponsible at all levels, I believe. But I have questions. I happen to have a little bit of background in civil engineering. And hearing what you just said, Sarah, it's hard to me to comprehend that access and egresses to a building compromise the integrity, the structural integrity of a building. So, but without seeing evidence as to the city is coming up with, it's hard for me to even grasp the severity of and the immediate need for these fellows to vacate their property, which is, in essence, a eviction. It's an eviction to these fellows by the city. So I think that without any documentation, without information, how can we come up to anything in this committee? It's impossible for us to do anything at this level.
Just to quickly clarify, I mean, this item was not on the agenda.
I know. But we're talking about it, and it is very relevant to these folks.
Right, yeah.
Right, but it is very relevant to these people. So I wasn't in the agenda, so we didn't have any chance to prepare. I wouldn't even knew until I just read who HODC is. So it's. I think it's irresponsible to dump it on us. Many of us are just volunteers. We are residents of the city of Evanston, not elected officials that decided to put in a little bit of our time and effort to make our community better.
Yeah. Well,
that's what we're here
but
for.
this is kind of the logical venue, I think, for residents who have this kind of a situation.
But if it's put on our lap, it's for us to do something with this.
Right. Well,
But we don't have information.
Yeah.
Right. So
You want to use your mic? Yeah.
Yeah, Chloe.
What's the authority of the committee on these types of issues? Do we have investigate? Can we sort of suggest things that need to be investigated? Or this is, again, as Ugo says, this is the first time that I've heard of any of this.
That's the first time, I think, for all of us. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I think. No, we not this committee though. The weekly meeting has been, because this meet only this. If I can speak, please. This committee only meets once a month, so you don't want this committee making sure that they have all the accommodations because they don't meet enough. What I said is we meet every Friday. We've been meeting every Friday on this issue as it's evolved. Myself, Director Flax, HODC, George Gauthier, and one of his representatives, I believe, on
One
the
of his
call.
board members. And
So the first time we started meeting was around the time when we were notified, or I was notified at least, that the properties on Wesley were not being maintained and were being poorly managed by the current owner, which is not HODC, it's another non-for-profit. Again, not trying to beat up on George. I said earlier that every tenant that I've talked to has said he's a great person, did the best he could. But that's when I was notified that there was an issue with these properties. That's when Sarah informed me about the arrangement to bring in almost like a receivership relationship. So in a court proceeding, if there was a property that was this poorly maintained by an owner, we could take it to court, and the court, along with the city, would appoint a receiver, some organization typically that can come in, maintain the property, make sure things are being done correctly. And so the city was able to, and Sarah can speak more about this, I think she had more direct conversations with HODC, but a type of receivership arrangement was developed. Right around that time is when we started to meet regularly, so that's why I say it evolved. Initially it was, okay, we're trying to recertify so that we can identify, and by we, I mean HODC says we're trying to recertify, we need, obviously we need leases re-signed, and so, that was the first kind of evolution of this, and then it evolved into our engineers, I think Andrew San Roman, she could speak more to that, but have inspected the property over this period of time and feel like it has declined to a point where it is unsafe to occupy. The reason why we were meeting is we didn't want to get to this point, right? We were meeting to try to figure out different paths that we could take. And again, it was determined that the properties are unsafe. And I think it's complete. If folks want more information, just to clarify what Ugo said, this is not an agenda item. Nothing has been dumped on the committee. Every open meeting act, the Open Meeting Act allows for public comment before every public meeting. And so residents have every right to come and express themselves. And so that's why we're discussing it now. But I think if you want questions about the history of the building, of the inspections, I think that's absolutely appropriate that information be requested. Again, my more immediate focus has been trying to make sure that the tenants are safe, and that they're provided every opportunity to stay in Evanston, and that they're provided the resources they need to make this transition as easy as possible. Again, going off the information I've been provided, which is that the buildings are not structurally sound and that they're currently unsafe for the tenants who live there.
Okay. So, Ugo, do you want to?
Yeah, I have a follow-up comment on this, and it is that
I hate, as probably the person that can give you the best historical background of this building, of all of the Chodos here in Evanston. The first thing that you should have, and the first people you need to ask for information. The city of Evanston is a participatory jurisdiction, which means they are allowed full funds every year. Every year you decide who gets part of the block grant and what happened to the home funds. the home funds come and the people talk to the P&D meeting. I think it was 2015, if I'm not inaccurate, that the buildings at the dead end of Wesley received $180,000 to fix the tuck point and stuff, to fix all of the things that was fixed. If you are talking to George, I doubt if George is talking to anybody. His health has deteriorated, and that's why HODC came in. The next question I need, and you should know, you should ask of your mayor, your city manager, where are the board people that sits on HOD's board? The board decide where the total goes. I know that because when we, as the land trust, and they wouldn't give us any more money, but that's okay, and the city decided to have their discussion for it to go to Highland Park, who is now the community partners for affordable housing. The one thing that is sad to say, if there are black people involved or head of something, we don't want to talk to them. But the Community Lighthouse Land Trust had made a decision, the board made a decision and talked to the Highland Park Community Land Trust if they would take our one property that we had. And then the city got involved.
So Betty, we need to move
what
on.
I'm saying is, you as chairperson need to sit down with the board of members from HODC, not HODC, the Evanston Housing Coalition, to find out what was their decision and their desire.
Okay.
That is the proper step that you should be at now. And they need to be in on that conversation when you have that, the resident.
Okay, thank you. So Sarah, I think you had some information?
I had a question before
okay,
that.
go ahead.
Thank you. My question is, to follow up on what I was saying before, is that I understand that this was put onto this committee if 3 lightning rods struck the 3 buildings, and it's an emergency. But this is something that it's been going on, that has been happening, and without any information. I mean, this wasn't even in our agenda. What is the intention for the city to put it on this forum? And
The residents showed up on their own. It was not a,
I don't.
I think so. Yeah, okay. So Sarah, you had some information?
I would like to, George Gauthier did get in touch with the city when he knew he could no longer do anything. The city, what I did was I connected George with the 2 remaining Chodos that serve in Evanston. HODC is one of them, and Community Partners for Affordable Housing is the other. George and his board did discuss and made their choice that they knew Richard Koenig from years of working in the same community and had less knowledge of Community Partners for Affordable Housing. So it was George's and his board's choice to do a management contract with HODC. It's not a true receivership, it's a management contract because George had not been managing the properties at all for an extended period of time. We don't know exactly how long that was. So that is how HODC got brought into this, and that was their, one of your jobs when you are managing a rental property is to make sure you have leases signed, make sure that you have everything with your tenants, and that's what they were working to do. HODC also was doing an assessment of the property and trying to figure out ways of finding funding. they had a structural assessment done by a structural engineer relatively recently, and that is what led to the discussion of the dangerous aspects of the building, that it really, the building is not safe for people to be in because of the egress and access and egress, excuse me. We intentionally, as Councilmember Burns said, wanted to meet with the residents and tell them what the situation was before we went and posted that this is a dangerous building and had gotten a court agreement for us to move on it, because that didn't seem to us to be a way that was supporting people in the community at all. That seemed to be a threat much more than what we were attempting to do, which was meet and talk with people ahead of time, say the resources that were available, bring people, and we will follow up with our social services people to make sure that you are all in contact with them and getting the help you need.
So, everyone, we really appreciate that you came this evening to share your stories. We understand that this has been a community for all of you for years and years, and this is just a painful and difficult situation. So I hope you have, Councilmember Burns, would you maybe give your phone number and email one more time so people know who to follow up with?
Yeah, again, just for the record, and I'll be in touch with everybody, 847-766-5871 is the number, and email is bburns@cityofevanston.org.
Yeah, okay. So, so thank you, everyone, and we'll be, I think, following up on Councilmember Herrick Harris's request for some more information about HODC. Yep. All right. Now, turning to our agenda, the first item of business is approval of the minutes of our December 12th. Would someone make a motion for approval of our minutes of December 12th?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, and are there any questions or comments? Then I think we can do a voice vote on approval. All in favor of approving the minutes,
Chair
please
Revelle?
say. Whoops.
Sorry, Chair Revelle?
Yep.
Since I wasn't there on the
Oh, sorry.
12th, let's say I
Right,
will abstain.
okay,
Or
right.
I don't,
Well,
yeah.
You can abstain. Well, then we better do a roll call.
Chair Revelle,
Aye.
Councilmember Burns, Councilmember Heracariz,
I abstain.
Hugo Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joanne Salome,
Aye.
Kathy Feingold,
Aye.
Lauren Berlin, Chloe Thurston. Motion passes.
Great, okay, thank you. Our next item is approval to allocate $20,000 of affordable housing funds to help fund the homeless management information system to address the needs of homeless and unstably housed people here in Evanston. So could I have a motion to recommend approval of that allocation to the City Council?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
So staff, do you want to say something? Good.
So this is a request for $20,000 to be coming from the Affordable Housing Fund to help provide funding for HMIS, which is a HUD-mandated software that helps maintain records and keep track of progress around the funding that's used from the ESG grant, which is the Emergency Solution Grant. The last time that funding was requested by the Alliance to End Homelessness in suburban Cook County was in 2021. They received $25,000. The request in front of you represents 2.7% of their total budget to be able to maintain this software. Evanston organizations represent 15% of their users, and Evanston residents represent 11% of their clients. Additionally, these funds, the $20,000, are also used by the Alliance as a match for other grants, which means that they can be leveraged for optimal use. We have Jennifer Hill from the Alliance here to speak and answer your questions regarding this funding request. I want to mention that a budget has been provided, and you will see that Evanston is one of the few cities providing funding for this. A lot of the funding is also coming from counties. The reason for that is because Evanston, outside of Chicago and Cicero, is one of the only community receiving ESG funding. And this is used to be able to maintain records and administration for this funding.
Great. Okay, welcome.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Marion covered many of the points that I was hoping to emphasize. We lead the Suburban Continuum of Care, and we are a member organization for groups that have housing, shelter, or services for people experiencing homelessness. Together with our members, we develop plans to better address homelessness. We help make decisions about HUD funding, and we manage data about those programs. We also train provider staff on best practices. This request supports our homeless management information system. We use it it is a HUD required software that our member agencies use to track client data. So it helps the city of Evanston and other jurisdictions that have the HUD funding directly to provide the reports that HUD requires. It also helps us to we use that data for strategic decision-making about the system as a whole. So it's required, but also it just helps us to be better and to be a community-driven process for what is the best way to address homelessness in our communities. Some of the member organizations that make up the Marion mentioned that about 16% of the users of the system come from organizations based in Evanston, and some of those organizations include Connections for the Homeless, Impact Behavioral Health Center, Interfaith Action Center, Family Promise of the North Shore, and the YWCA of Evanston and North Shore. I'm happy to answer any questions. This is a relatively routine ask. Once upon a time, Evanston used to lead its own continuum of care and its own homeless management information system. That was, I believe, in maybe about 2009 or 2010 that we brought those efforts together. Our Suburban Cook-wide effort keeps expanding and growing. We've tried to keep this request of Evanston relatively flat, and it represents a lower and lower percent of that overall effort every year, but it's an important part of us supporting what is required of Evanston, and also supporting the organizations to do a great job and to be strategic and effective in their homeless programs.
Great, thank you. So committee members, any comments or questions? I guess my one question is, I'm surprised that we don't contribute to you annually or something. It's been 3 years since we've made a contribution. Is that?
The contribution in 2021 actually came out of the ESG CV dollars, which was a 3-year grant. So it was $25,000 that could have been spread out over 3 years. I think we spent it in about 15 months. But it was, the timing worked out that was the most ample resource available at the time. And so there's also some amount of us figuring out what's the timing of the ask and what works with your calendar. So we try to do it about annually, but it's been a minute.
Great, thanks. Okay. Well, then I think we're ready to have a roll call for this.
Chair Ravel.
Aye.
Councilmember Heracariz.
Aye.
Hugo Rodriguez.
Aye.
Joanne Salome.
Aye.
Kathy Feingold.
Aye.
Lauren Berlin. Chloe Thurston.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you. So that's been approved by the committee. We'll recommend that to council. Thanks. Our next item is an update on the one-stop shop Green Homes retrofit program, and we have Bob Dean with us.
Yes, we have Bob Dean from the Center for Neighborhood Technology as well as Jordan Nash from Elevate here to provide some update around some changes.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for your time tonight. I'm Bob Dean with CNT, also joined by Jordan Nash from Elevate, who will come up if there's any questions about Elevate. I've been here a few times in the past to discuss the Green Homes pilot program. We were originally scheduled to come back to you in April, but we wanted to come tonight instead because an update now is timely. The short story is we have made less progress to date than we would like, and we are recommending and making a significant adjustment to our project team in order to get us back on track. So to back up for a little more context, the Green Homes pilot program is meant to address the city's climate and energy goals by focusing on energy efficiency and other types of improvements in existing affordable housing in Evanston. The city funded a pilot program to start this off with $1 million of COVID relief funding. We got under contract with the city to begin this work about a year ago. In that time, we've made a lot of progress on program design, including having an advisory group formed last spring and a series of focus groups, and have now put together a detailed operations guide for how the program works. We have not yet begun construction. We originally had 3 partner organizations in this program: us, Elevate, and the Evanston Development Cooperative, or EDC. EDC had served as the lead on the ground organization, interacting with residents, interacting with contractors, and managing construction. However, unfortunately, EDC has not been able to participate as we envisioned. They've had a series of leadership transitions, and so we have moved very slowly for the past 9 months in the hopes that that situation would be resolved, but it has not been. And we are therefore recommending making a substantial change to our team. We're planning on shifting the program implementation responsibility from EDC to Elevate. Elevate is a large and very effective organization that focuses on exactly what this program is, which is energy efficiency retrofits in affordable housing. They've designed and managed programs very much like this one in other cities like Ann Arbor and Madison, and they currently have started managing these kind of programs as well for Cook County and for the city of Chicago. So we have a lot of confidence in their ability to pull this off and to get us back on track with this program. We had the original goal of having a local organization in the lead position for implementation, which we think is still a good goal, but the reality is at this point, we need to prioritize making progress on the pilot so that we can complete it within the timeline that we have with COVID relief funding. So our schedule is now completion by the end of 2025. The original schedule was by the end of 24. We're extending that by a year, which still works for the COVID relief funds, and the budget is unchanged. So I'm happy to answer any questions that people have about where we are.
Yep. Councilmember Harris.
So thanks. Thanks for the update. So I had one resident reach out to me specifically a few months ago asking about kind of the progress. They had, been working with EDC and had kind of not heard anything back. And at that point, I think we just had an update from you folks, and we learned about the leadership change over there. And I said, well, be, patient. It's, there should be some contact. Now that Elevate is partnering, what is the time frame for those folks to be contacted again? Because, they were very eager to have some work done. And I think, they'd been pre-qualified and all those things. So what's kind of what's the next step for people who have been kind of waiting?
Yeah, for some people, it's been 6 months since they signed up. The next step is coming up very quickly. We are working on Elevate's contract and expect to have that signed within probably 2 weeks from today. Okay. At which point Elevate will be the one who's responsible for doing the resident outreach, speaking to people, speaking to contractors, and getting that all going.
Okay. And I know there was a little, at least I had heard, and I don't know if you can clarify this, that there's some priority being given to homeowners that knew what they needed to be done at their home, or because the resident I'd talked to, they said they didn't really know where to start. So when they were asked the questions about like, oh, what do you need? It's like, well, I thought, so if you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's honestly, the expectation is that the homeowner might not know what they need to have done. And Elevate is trained at doing these building assessments, like comprehensive building assessments, where they go and they walk through it with the homeowner and they see what are the highest priority improvements. We won't be able to necessarily fund every single improvement a home would need through this, but we can do the most important stuff. But I feel like our expectation is the homeowner does not have to have very much knowledge of what they need. The point of this program is to tell them that and to also set them up with resources. So I'm sorry if there was any miscommunication. There has been some period of uncertain leadership at one of our partners, and now with Elevate, I think we'll have a smoother communication with residents.
Okay, great. And so should residents wait for contact, or is there going to be like
The
next step for
people
them?
who have signed up already can wait for contact. We do still have all of their contact information. If there's anyone who you want to make sure we get to because you've heard from them, we can certainly do them very quickly. And the website where people can sign up has been live this whole time, and people have been occasionally signing up. And we'll still keep that live and really promote it once Elevate is fully underway.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Ugo, go ahead.
Yes. I'm somehow familiar with CNT. Was one of my good friends, Steve Perkins, used to be with them, and he was a neighbor of mine too. And to his request, I installed water heater solar panels on my building. So thanks to him. But my question is to you, are there workshops for the community to be able to learn about your project, what it's involved, what it makes a property qualify for it or a homeowner qualify for it at a greater scale to the city level, or what is the reach of your program at this point?
Yeah, we could do workshops. We would like to do those at the eligible wards. There's two basic forms of eligibility. You have to be in a certain geography, and so the 5th ward counts as well as the eastern part of the 8th ward. The places with the greatest concentrations of existing affordable housing in Evanston are both eligible. And then there's also an income eligibility. You have to be below 80% of area median income. We have a website that we have set up that allows people to put in their address, and it tells them very easily whether or not they're eligible through that. So once we're more fully up and running, we would like to do some word-based outreach around that in the places that are eligible to try to get residents involved.
So far, hasn't been any outreach to the communities that may qualify for this program?
We've done a couple things. We have done updates at the 5th Ward meetings once or twice, and the city's sustainability department has also put out updates through their newsletter, which usually will generate a few people whenever that occurs. But we haven't really done a full court press to try to put the word out because we wanted to have a good process for getting people their homes assessed once that did happen. So I think once Elevate is under contract, we do intend more direct outreach with particularly the affected council people, who I think will be good ones to get their residents engaged. We also have 2 community-based organizations who are funded partners through the program, working with Family Focus, as well as LENS, which is Latinos in Evanston and North Shore, to have those organizations also do outreach to residents to make them aware of the program.
Okay. So how many people are signed up already to, learn more about the program?
There's not that many yet because we haven't promoted it much.
Okay.
We've done soft promotions. We've done maybe 4 building assessments. We might have another 5 or so people who have signed up where we haven't gone to those buildings yet. But again, it's been a very slow process. We'd like this to launch more in the spring.
Right. In the memo, it talked about, it seems that the extent of retrofits that are going to be needed it means that you're not going to be doing as many homes as you had originally thought.
Well, we haven't changed our targets yet. I think much of that depends on how much outside funding we're able to bring into leverage.
Right.
So, for example, Cook County has just launched a Healthy Homes program, which is for the same exact purpose of ours. It's also run by Elevate. And so we're hoping that some people who come into our program could instead be pushed to that county program, which makes the city's money just go a lot further. So I think once we do a few more home assessments and get some projects started, we would like to talk again about the number of units that we're targeting. Our current target is 50, and we would like to talk in the future about, is that the right number? Is a smaller number instead appropriate? But tonight we're not coming with any recommendation for a change.
Yep. Great, okay. Any other questions or comment? Yes, Joanne.
Yeah. Through one of the programs that the administration passed, I mean, there are tax credits available to people for heat pumps and hot water heaters and things too. So would that be involved in helping the funding a particular home, do you think?
There are many programs. There are programs ComEd has, the county has a program, the state has other programs, the federal government has many, and thankfully Elevate is honestly an expert in all of these. And so I think that having them in a lead here to see a home and be like, okay, here are the 5 things that you qualify for. It's hard to get these 2, so let's focus on these other 3. You know, that's really the point of the program, to try to line people up with not just the city's pilot money, but everything else that's out there as well.
Okay. Yeah, well, I do think Elevate is going to be a great partner, so we're confident that the project's going to proceed successfully, and we'll look forward to further updates. I guess we need a motion to accept and place on the report on file. Someone? And a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Chair Ravel,
Aye.
Councilmember Hera Caris,
Aye.
Hugo Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joanne Salome,
Aye.
Kathy Feingold,
Aye.
and Chloe Thurston. Motion passes.
Great, okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And then we are now ready for a motion we have applications for CDBG public facilities improvement projects. And do we need to approve these separately, or can we approve it?
You can approve them
Together.
depending on where the conversation goes.
Okay, right. So I guess just to get us started, would someone make a motion for us to approve the CDBG?
I will move the
facilities?
approval of funding guidelines and applicants for financial year 2023-24 CDBG public facilities improvements projects.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and so staff, I think you probably,
Yep.
okay.
Got a quick intro, and then we have representative of the agencies that applied for funding. So we are talking here about the nonprofit public facilities improvement funding. The city had budgeted about $300,000 of CDBG funding for this application. We had set award to range from a minimum of $25,000, and it could go to a maximum request of $125,000. We got 4 applicants through this process. One was deemed not eligible based on their setup and the fact they were not actually a public facility open to the public. The other one withdrew recently because their project didn't move through. So we currently tonight have 2 applicants, Lydia Holm, and we have Margaret Dillon, and then Peer Services, and Brown and Noifria Lopez are here tonight. We provided the committee with a staff review of both application. We looked at required items such as feasibility of the project, the ability to meet and experience with meeting federal funding requirements, the budget, and the applicant sustainabilities. Given this is CDBG funding, we need to make sure that the facility is going to be in place with the same use for at least 5 years. That's a requirement of the funding. And then we also looked at the project readiness, the community benefit, the benefit to target population, and environmental/health benefits from the project. We are suggesting that the committee take into account whether the project requests are for repairs or improvement that, if they were not done, could result in a loss of operation, or could require major emergency repair, at least for prioritizing. The total eligible request is for $211,000 and $211,100. So we do have the budget for both projects if the committee deems that they're eligible and warranted. So if you would like to have maybe Lydia, home representative, come to the podium so they can explain a little bit about their project.
Sure.
I'm Sharon Fulgenzi, and this is Chuck Griffin. Margaret's out of state, so I'm coming in her place. I'm part of her team. First, thank you for inviting us here tonight. So Lydia Home, what you all may know, is Children's Home and Aid Society, or the former Rice Center, has been part of the fabric of Evanston since 1883. And I looked, it was like just 20 years after the founding of the city of Evanston, which was interesting. But Lydia Home provides home and healing to children who are in state residential care, children who've been through severe abuse, severe trauma, so acute that it requires them coming to Lydia, with the ultimate goal of them finding a forever family. But the trauma they've been through, we're really a safe place for them. 24-hour care of staff, counseling services as well. We serve children ages 6 to 18. We did take, again, former Children's Home and Aid, or the Rice Center, whichever you may know it by, in July 2022. Unfortunately, during that time when we took that building over, we didn't have the funds or the budget to take on some of the deferred maintenance costs. And one of those pieces was the elevator repairs. The technology is 30 years old. And again, our commitment to our kids is to provide a home of love and care, right, and healing. And part of that is the safety of them. And right now, the elevators and the state that they're in does pose a little bit of a safety issue for not just the children, but our volunteers as well as our staff. And outside, again, the disruptions of the day, if you will, is just the overall safety for the kids. And I have Chuck here, who's going to just talk a little bit about what the modernization for the elevators, but not only what it would look like, but what it would mean to Lydia and the kids and families that we serve.
Hi. Chuck Griffith, thanks for having us tonight. So I took over as maintenance manager about a year and a half ago for Lydia Home, former Rice Center. And I'm not going to speak on the maintenance that was there before me, but I had no records of elevator repairs, maintenance records, nothing. I do get the yearly inspection, which it passed. But since I've been there in a year and a half, I probably have had 10 days or more where I've had to have elevator people come in and fix it. I've had computer boards go out. It's just, the system's 30 years old and it's pretty much obsolete, a lot of the technology that's in it. So what we're trying to do is to get the modernization, get everything back up to par so we can, our kids, they're our life. And we have a food service there, so we need our elevators to bring food to the units for the kids to eat every single day. If the elevator's down, it's, it's trudging up 3 floors and it's a lot of work. So that's about the part of me. I deal with it, constantly with getting calls that, hey, our elevator's out again, it's not working. So this would be much needed, much appreciated.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the committee? Yes.
I want to say, I was involved with the committee when it was Rice Center. I mean, I have children who were adopted from Children's Home and Aid many years ago. They're in their 50s now, and stuff. But anyway, and I know the great work you did. I used to work for the Adoption Information Center of Illinois, so
I
too.
actually go back, way back. I actually worked at the Cradle back in the late 90s for
did you?
several years. And,
Yeah.
and it's ironic because I just started with Lydia like 2-3 years ago. And I temporarily worked out of Children's Home and Aid, when the Cradle was being renovated. So I have ties back to them, too.
Yes, so you do great work, and I mean, with difficult kids who have been through a lot, and a lot of people in Evanston don't even know that building, don't know it's there.
We invite anybody who wants to come out and visit anytime.
No, we're going to have an open house, so you're all invited.
And maybe they know, District 65 teachers go in and teach the children.
Yes, we have the school
and
part of it,
then
too.
the teenagers go to ETHS. But, years ago, probably a century ago, I don't know when, Evanston put in that kids, unless they've changed it, that kids can't be older than 16.
Yeah,
living there.
they max out at 16.
16, and so we thought, well,
We have
they
some
not want
some
kids driving in Evanston. I don't know what was the reason that Evanston put that age stipulation on, but yeah, you do great work.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Forgot to put my light on.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm also very familiar with sort of the service that you do. I was very involved with an orphanage in Guatemala, which is where I'm from, with severely handicapped kids mentally and physically. So I definitely admire the work that you guys do at your organization. In regards to your elevators are critical for children with some sort of physical issues, for sure, and also mental health issues might be in play with that, so I totally sympathize with that. Is 125 because the maximum? Because I know that an elevator is going to cost you significantly more than that to modernize or
just
to
kind of help us offset the cost. I've got two quotes, or actually three, ranging from about $150,000 to $250,000.
Sure. Yeah. I was involved with a social service agency also here in the city, and we had to redo our elevators it was over $500,000 for 2 elevators. So it was for 7-story building, so much bigger built elevators. But yeah, I know it's pretty pricey. So thank you so much for the work you do for the city. Thank you.
And we would love to have you sometime.
We'll stop by, for sure.
Okay. And then shall we hear from Peer Services?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Ann Brown, the Development Director at Peer Services, and this is Brian Richards, our Director of Operations. Peer is a substance use prevention and treatment organization in downtown Evanston. We've been serving folks in Evanston since 1975. We started as a medication-assisted recovery program to help folks with opioid addictions, and we have continued that work ever since. We also now provide alcohol and other drug counseling and prevention programming for youth. About 90% of our clients are low to moderate income individuals who depend on Peer for affordable treatment. And I'm going to have Brian talk a little bit about our project.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Brian Richards, Director of Operations at Peer Services. We're requesting funding to replace a severely outdated security system at Peer Services. We've kind of ran into a couple of different scenarios where we've wanted to upgrade or update a couple of different devices that are connected to the security system. But it turns out that we have an outdated system. We have a combined burglar and fire alarm system, which is no longer up to date or up to code with Evanston's requirements. So if we wanted to update any one component of the fire or burglar alarm system, we have to completely overhaul the entire security system, which is a lot of money. And we just can't afford that most of the time for facility-related needs. So what would the system include? It's a video system, video monitoring system, a full fire alarm system reinstall, and a burglar alarm system connected to that. In addition, we are looking for hold-up system updates as well. It's more commonly referred to as the panic button systems. These are absolutely integral for our clinicians and for the safety of our clients in and out of the building. Right now, if someone were to utilize our hold-up button systems, the way it works is 911 is contacted immediately and they arrive at the building. But internally, we have no awareness that a hold-up button has been pressed. So we are not able to direct the police department inside the building. We would kind of just, our policies tell us to just go one by one with the knowledge of who is in the building at the time. So we'd really like to get this upgraded so that we have, these days, they're just on your phone. You have a portal system that you can access online, so you know if the system's been pressed, you know where it's been pressed, who has pressed the button. So it would just really allow us to enhance our policies and procedures in the building. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So we are just really grateful for this opportunity. We have been seeking funding to be able to replace the security system. And we've had several other facilities issues in the meantime, such as our roof leaking this past summer unexpectedly, which cost $37,000. We are a very lean operation. We were unable to provide COLA increases for our staff this past summer. So this funding is really essential because we can't wait. If something happens to the security system, we don't have a backup right now. We have to do this. And this funding will mean that we can keep our programmatic funding with the program. Otherwise, we will have to draw from our general operating dollars, which will mean we'd have to make some really difficult decisions on the programmatic side. So we thank you, open up for questions if you have any, and we really appreciate the opportunity.
Great. So, committee members, any comments or questions? Okay. Oh, Lauren.
I have just a quick one out of curiosity. So first of all, thank you for the work you do. It's super important. Obviously, you all serve people who are not, I don't know how to say this all politically correctly, but maybe the issue they're struggling with is not opioids, but I'm curious just to know generally, like, are you all at capacity just across the board? Like, we hear so much about the opioid epidemic. It sounds like you all have been doing this a very long time in that regard, and I'm curious sort of like how that's changed from where you sit.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we are not at capacity in our medication-assisted recovery program right now. And in talking with other programs in the area, they are also not at capacity. So what we are seeing is that many of the folks who are struggling with opioid addiction are not seeking help. And so we're looking into ways that we can go into the community and connect with people where they are more. We're very excited. We were recently approved for a mobile MAR unit, MAR's medication-assisted recovery, where we'll be able to go to sites in the community and interact with people there and help them get started on methadone medication. We also are now offering buprenorphine and naltrexone. We're excited about that. But unfortunately, a lot of work needs to be done to identify people and help them understand what their treatment options are and to bring them into treatment.
Yeah. So how, do you serve outside of Evanston or?
Yeah, so we serve Evanston, Skokie, sort of the northern suburbs. So we have folks from New Trier Township, Northfield Township, Niles Township, and as far west as Maine Township. We also serve the north side of Chicago. And we have clients, I was just looking, we have some clients from Waukegan. We have some clients from many, many different neighborhoods on the west and south sides of Chicago as well, who are commuting to Pierre to get treatment, sometimes because it's a safe community where they can get treatment without some of the other challenges that they might face in other communities.
Yeah, great, thanks. Okay, committee, I think that takes care of our questions, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
And so we've had a motion and a second, so can we have a roll call on approving, recommending these two grant requests?
Yes, Chair Ravel,
Aye.
Councilmember Heracariz,
Aye.
Hugo Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joanne Salome, Kathy Feingold,
Aye.
Lauren Berlin,
Aye.
and Chloe Thurston.
Aye.
Great,
Motion passes.
great, thank you. And now we have staff update.
Yes, we have some quick staff update that I just wanted to give the committee before we adjourn. Wanted to let them know that we are currently anxiously waiting for Congress to approve a budget for HUD so we can get our grant allocation for 2024, update our draft action plan that you approved in December and get it through City Council, but we are waiting on those numbers to get that through City Council. The team is working currently on the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, which is our report for 2023 that you will be looking at the March meeting. And we have to submit that by the end of March to HUD. It's a requirement. We just opened the home ARP application for funding for non-congregate shelter and tenant-based rental assistance related to that. The application is closing on March 1st, and we will bring that to you at the March committee. Also at the March Committee will be an introduction on the efforts around the comprehensive plan and Vision Evanston 2045, the strategic housing plan, the 5-year HUD consolidated plan, and the IHO update. All those projects are undertaken this year, so we wanted to give you an overall update before we start any kind of specific conversation. There'll be a couple other items on the agenda to be determined, so I just wanted to make sure the committee was ready to roll for the March meeting. We can start it as early as you wish.
I just had one question. When we talk about what we're going to talk, the part of the tenants ordinance that we're going to talk about next month, the things we've already discussed and approved, are we going to vote on each item, or are we going to vote just in
That's
total?
a question that Sarah Flax can answer. I'm Grant.
We are going to bring the RLTO, the ordinance, with the 14, well, actually, it's 13 things that are actually in the ordinance that there had been general consensus on. So that would be one item that would be voted on. There will be a discussion, there will be a memo from our law department about just cause and the other issues, and that will be a discussion item, we don't expect you to be voting on it at that time.
Is that going to be voting each separate one, or all?
Well, generally, what we do is we present it as the ordinance, but anyone can take off or question and discuss any individual item on it. So it can be modified, or it can be adopted in its entirety, depending on what the committee wishes.
Sarah, Liz told us that at the next regular meeting, just regular standard meeting, there will not be a vote on any RLTO. So I just want to confirm that. I'm not at that meeting. I have to be out of town.
We may need to do a special meeting for the RLTO, frankly, because we have a pretty full agenda. We had originally thought that we could, that it would be on the March committee meeting, but I just don't think that's possible. We've got too much for you to get through in one evening. You'd be starting at 5 and going till midnight.
Yeah.
There is, just so that the committee is aware, there is a pretty hefty agenda for the rest of the year. We will talk about that at next meeting and give you kind of an overview, but yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on this year due to the different plans. So I just want to make sure you're all aware.
Ugo.
First, I would like to say in regards to the special meeting that was held in January, my disappointment to my request to postpone that meeting for a couple of weeks so I could be present to that meeting. I have invested a lot of my time and effort to be a part of that discussion, and I was really disappointed with the response from staff that it was not going to be allowed. That I could join via internet through a Zoom call, but I was at a remote place where I could not be meeting via Zoom either. So I was very disappointed with that. But in regards to our next meeting, Sarah, you mentioned that there has been consensus, but my understanding is, at least from my part, there hasn't been consensus on everything that has been discussed. There has not been an opportunity to really discuss anything in depth, in real depth. And I think that the community that was present at the last meeting, which I viewed quickly on the video that was recorded for that meeting, it was full of facts, and I think that it represented a very logical perspective to that ordinance from the landlord community mainly. It was very logical, it was very factual, and I think that the city is making a mistake by many of the points on the ordinance. I think that more discussion is needed, that we're taking very lightly some very deep issues in regards to the relations between tenants and landlords in the city of Evanston. And, I know that Avidor residents have come to all of those meetings, and I realize that they are in an incredibly difficult situation, what they live in, and perhaps the city could do an intervention just like they've done in other instances. But I think that we do have at hand more serious issues like what's going on with the Wesley properties to be discussing not at a emergency level, but if we systematically do revisions to properties and relationships between landlords and tenants, we could do much more, or could be more beneficial to the entire community at large, not just a select group. And I still feel that this is driven very politically and not with the residents of this city at heart of the discussions. So I would prefer that for our next meeting, there be no vote or no recommendation to City Council to be moved to City Council for vote, since I feel that that is still has a lot of discussion to be had on those issues. Thank you.
So if I understand, I guess Sarah, we'll be having a special meeting where we can deal with the RLTO. Is that?
I think we need to set up, because of the agenda items, there are too many agenda
Yeah.
items to
And
get
so if
through in one.
if we can devote the whole meeting to it, so we can have time to.
To discuss and resolve things.
Discuss.
It's not
Right.
something where anyone would expect a vote just based on looking at it and not having a discussion. That's not something that would be expected. But we also have a lot of important points in that ordinance under discussion that are protections that are important to tenants, and also some things that I think are valuable to landlords. It's,
Undeniably, I definitely agree with that. But I wanted to just make sure that we get the legal department perspective on what has been discussed up front and not just a couple of days before our meeting, so we have a time to review what they have been discussing for over 3 months already. So we do have some time also to look it up and to understand where they're coming from. Thanks.
Okay. And so staff, you'll be doing like a doodle poll for us to set a date for that special meeting or soon?
some doodle or some other
Something,
device, yes.
Some other device, okay, great. Okay, I think we've taken care of our agenda. All right, so with that, I call the meeting adjourned, and we'll see you all, except for Lauren, see you next month.